Let me share the screen and then we will start. Screen is visible, right? Am I audible for all of you? Okay. Right. Let me close all these things so that okay. Now just getting into another component, another discussion. I don't know who is joining once again. So all of you guys are there. Now we are just getting into another component. Before we get into that, let's try to understand how this happened. See, when I started accessing the internet, right? So when I was trying to get into the browsing centers and all, there was no that much. What do you call it? As the internet access was not this much easy. You have to go and approach a browsing center, and that could be anywhere. It's not like every street you would be having it. So from that era, I'm coming in. So even if you wanted to have an internet connection at your home, so you may need to have a DSL modem, you need to have a landline, not DSL modem, regular modem, right? So regular modem, and then you will be having a telephone connection, and then you have to buy the internet package. The meaning of this is what? Along with the circuit, means if I'm going to be accessing internet for 1 hour, I need to dial into a specific number. The dialer would be given to you. So for as long as I'm connected to the internet, I'm going to be charged for the telephone line. Along with that, I also be charged for the internet access. There will be two charges. One is for the landline and how long I'm using it, whatever the duration I'm connected to the internet. For that much of duration, I have to be paying money, right? The second thing is I have to pay for internet also. Then what is this logic? I was not getting it. Then I started digging it and then realized that the internet package, whatever I was paying is for the leasing IP addresses. So I'm buying a package from the service provider like 10 hours package or 25 hours package, which means that I'm going to be hiring an IP address, which means what? Nobody can own an IP address. Any organization, if they want an IP address, they can approach the service provider, or they can also approach the respective registrars, right? There is an organization called as Internic. Internic is going to be responsible for distributing the IP addresses to the requested companies for every region, for every continent. They have different registrars. We call them as RIR, right? So for Asia Pacific, we have something called as APNIC, right? So Asia Pacific Network Information Center. So what basically they will be doing is they will be allocating the IP addresses for the requesting people. Now why do I need an IP address? Without an IP address, my identity on the public network is not going to be happening. So you need an address, only then the return traffic can come back. So during that time, getting an IP address, leasing an IP address is also going to be costly. So what I have to do is I need to connect to minimum number of times, a minimum number of hours, and minimum number of devices I will be connecting it. Right, so for every device I connect, I need to have an IP address. That's where the public IP address came into picture, right? So by that time, there was no much of devices they used to get connected to the internet. So the IP address scheme, like whatever we had, like IPv4, the addressing scheme was more than enough for me. Like if I have an IPv4, what is the total size of it? 32 bits of length. So maximum of 2 to the power of 32 number of IP addresses could be possible. When IPv4 developed, they felt like this is a huge address space. I would need more number of IP addresses. But after the drastic growth of internet, now think about how and all we are accessing internet. What all the devices are connected to internet. If you see our regular internet access methodology, we will have a DSL router and we will also be having a wireless router attached to it. Because of that, multiple devices can be connected. Now, as long as you wanted to get connected to the internet and you want your services to be identified on the internet, we are supposed to have a public IP address, right? So only then the communication could be possible. As more of devices are getting connected to the internet, we need to have more of IP addresses. Then the demand started created. There are so many services, so many mail services. If you see the websites, how many websites would be there? Every site supposed to be having a unique IP address. Only then the request can be forwarded to it. If I have limited number of services, then obviously whatever the IP address scheme I have, which is more than enough, Nowadays, every company is coming up with their web presence. They are offering many services online. So every device which is providing a service and connected to the internet supposed to be having a unique IP address. IP version 4 was not enough to allocate the IP addresses for all of the people whomever is requesting it. So that's why for people who are connecting to the internet from an organization, to overcome this problem, we started coming up with something called a private IP address. So private IP address to public IP address, we were doing the network address translation. Well and good. But still this is not solving the problem. Every device connected to the internet supposed to be having a unique identity that can be possible only through the help of your IP addresses. But IPv4 address space is not enough to allocate more number of IP addresses to connecting devices. What all the devices are connected? We know that we can connect our PCs, we can connect our tablets, we are connecting our mobile phones, and we are connecting the smart TV, you're connecting the IoT devices. There are so many devices out there in current scenario. Every device to be communicated over the public network need to have a unique public IP address, only then the communication could be possible. So the point is what? We don't have enough number of addresses. If you see the address space, I will tell you, I'm going to a specific website called as what, IPv6 forum. You can see what is the IPv6 adaptation, and you could also be in a position to IPv4 utilization report. I don't know why it is not there. Probably it might take little time to load. It's not being displayed here. Still it's loading, I'm not sure. Probably somewhere it will be there. One minute, let me search. Even here also we can see this one. Only minimum number of IPv4 addresses are available, actually speaking. You can see that. See, these are all the registries. IANA is the body, and APNIC is the Asia Pacific, right? RIPE, ARIN, LACNIC, AFRINIC, these are all the registrars. And you can see how many IP addresses have been given by 2020. This is what allocated the last free /22 space. That's it, over. No more free IPv4 addresses are available. Right, so what my point is, this is how the utilization was going on. See, in 2000, you can see the number of IP addresses available and the date according to the year. See that the growth of your IP address requirement, it is going, it's ongoing. A lot of IP addresses were required. So with the current available address space of 32-bit, we will not be able to serve the number of requests are coming in. There are so many devices are connecting. That's why we have introduced, of course, we have introduced this very long back, which is called as an IPv6 address. In what way it is going to be different? So I have an IPv6 address. The first thing is, it is of size 128 bits. Think about it, 4 times, right? So it's 32 bits of your IPv4, whereas in IPv6 we have 128 bits of length. So think about how many addresses could be possible. We know, right? So if I have these many number of bits in a host ID address, then what is that? Those many IP addresses are possible. So with that 32-bit, how many IP addresses could be possible? Whereas in 128-bit, how many IP addresses could be possible? You have huge space, right? But again, how do I remember the IP addresses now? See, when it has 32 bits, that itself was difficult for me. That's why we have converted the binary format of IPv4 address into a dotted decimal system, right? We were having 4 octets and every octet was separated by a dot. So we were able to differentiate every 8 bits through the help of dot, and we are converting that every 8 bits into a decimal value. That's why we got dotted decimal system. If I apply the same logic here, how many octets we have to do it. Think about it. So 8 bits is going to be one portion, right? So 10 into 8, 80. So 10, then plus 4, 128 plus 5. So almost like, so 15 octets, sorry, 6 and 40. Yeah, 16 octets will be there. So 10 into 8, 80. Then 6 into 8, 48. So totally 128 bits. 16 octets you have to remember, and then you may also need to put a dot between each and every octet, like 1 dot, 2 dot, 3 dot, 4 dot, 5 dot, 6 dot, 7 dot, 8. So how do you remember the IP address? There must be a way to simplify these addresses. That's why what they have done is, instead of going for 8 bits per octet, they reserved 16 bits in each and every portion. So because 8 bits were there, we are calling it as octets. Then we have 16 bits. Then how do we call them as? Right? So the binary value was converted into decimal value in what is it called, IPv6. The 16-bit value of each and every portion, it's not octet, were converted into hexadecimal values. We know the hexadecimal values, right? 0 to 9 will be there. Instead of 10 we will have A, instead of 11 we will have B, instead of 12 we will have C, and then D, E, F. This is how we will be having it. So each and every value is going to be replaced with the hexadecimal value. And how do we differentiate the given value? Let me say 123. Is that decimal or hexadecimal? How do we know about it? So that's where the 0x representation comes into picture. Wherever you see 0x, that means the following values are represented in hexadecimal, not decimal. You need to know about that. Okay. So that's the point we are talking about. Anyway, 16 bits are being separated. Because of that, how many 16-bit portions will be there? 8 16-bit portions will be there. You understand? So we have 8 16-bit portions, and every bit you are going to be having 16 bits, and we call this as hextet. It's not official, but you can say this one, hextet. Octet 8 bits, hextet 16 bits, and we are representing them in hexadecimal format. Every hextet is going to be uniquely differentiated by a colon. Now, how we had a dotted decimal system, we had a dot to differentiate each and every octet. Here we are using a colon to differentiate each and every hextet. So in every hextet you have 16 bits. To differentiate each and every hextet, we have something called as what? A colon, with which we can differentiate it. You're getting my point, right? Now there is some question. What is that? Till this point is clear? Huh? Any questions are there? You can very well ask me. Anything you wanted to ask? புரியுதா இது வரைக்கும் புரியுதா மற்றவங்களுக்கு கார்த்திக் பேசுறாருன்னு நினைக்கிறேன், சவுண்ட் வருது. பயங்கரமா சவுண்ட் வருது. ஓகே, ஏதாவது கேட்கணுமா? ஹலோ. Okay, right. So now what is that we were talking about is IPv6 address space we have seen. And one of the beauty with IPv6 is, while IPv4 got developed and internet got rolled out, there was no proper plan of distributing the IPs to the respective registries, right? They were doing the subnetting without a very proper plan. Some of the segments have been given to AppNIC, and some of the segments have been given to a different registry. Because of that, the summarization of all the prefixes were not possible. So if you go and check the global routing table, it was huge, because every network supposed to be there in the global routing table. Only then traffic can be routed to that particular destination. You understand what I'm saying? So when it comes to IPv6, they initially planned that this is how we have to distribute the IPv6 addresses. So there is a proper planning of distributing the IP addresses to the respective registries. Because of that, individual networks can be summarized into a major network and then can be summarized. I'm not saying that there is no subnetting is available in IPv6. It is quite possible that if you maintain a hierarchical distribution, instead of advertising the individual networks, we can advertise the range itself. So when I say that this is the range, for example, let's assume that in India, when somebody is trying to reach a number in India, they have to call +91 or 0091, which means what? The indication to the global routing table that someone is trying to reach a number which is available in India, which is reachable in India. Now what if 91 alone is not there for India? 91 is there, 63 is there, 74 is there. Like that, if you have different numbers for identifying the number, for identifying the country, then what will happen? So there will be multiple entries you may need to create it. So instead of having different entries for each and every country, we are representing a code for countries. For each and every country we have a code. With that we will be able to differentiate that. If somebody is trying to reach India, they have to dial in 91, which means what? People are calling someone in India. How this could be possible? Because they are the proper allocation of this numbering is happening in telephone network. Same way, even in IPv6, that proper allocation is happening. So now what they have done is, we have 128 bits, right? So we have 128 bits of length. In that, the first 23 bits, like the first 23 bits are registered for the RIR, the registries, right? And then next 9 bits given for, that means until /32, it is reserved for the service provider, right? And then until /48, we can call it as a site prefix. We know what is slash, right? Any questions on that? Hello? Any questions on that? Network bits சொல்றோம் இல்லையா, அதேதான். நமக்கு இங்க வந்து 128 bits we have. So because of that, the slash can be anything. So when I say slash something, I'm identifying those many bits first of all. The first 23 bits are used to identify the registry. The remaining, the next 9 bits are used for identifying the service provider to whom the IP address have been allocated. The next 48 bits are being used to identify the site. From there, /64, of course we have an in between /56 also, don't worry. And these are all the subnet prefixes, which means in your IPv6 address, you will have /64 as the default mask. There is nothing called class A, B, C, D kind of a thing. So we have /64 subnet. That means we will have 64 bits reserved for the host ID per subnet. That means what? 2 to the power of 64 number of hosts are possible in IPv6 network. So 48 to 64 can be given to an organization where they can have 2 to the power of 16 number of subnets. It's quite possible I can give one subnet to one company and another subnet to another company, but still they will have 2 to the power of 64 number of IP addresses. Further, if they wanted to go for subnetting, they could do it. But the address space is huge. That's the point I'm trying to make it as. Is that clear? So /20, that means first 23 bits are used to identify the registry. The next 9 bits are used to identify the service provider. The next 16 bits are the prefixes which is being identified for the site. And then the remaining 16 bits, the 48 to 16 bits are the subnet bits. That's how we will be identifying it. You're getting my point, right? Is that clear? Till this point is clear? So this is how the communication is going to be happening. So because of that, when a service provider needs to advertise their prefixes to the upstream providers, all they have to do is simply they will advertise /32, not individual subnets needs to be sent. For example, if I say 22430781 is the code. Now what happens? Or else 9144 22430781 plus. If I say this one, the numbers are going to be helping us to identify. 91 is the country code for India. 44 is the country code for what? Chennai. 2243 is the country is the identification of the exchange. Within that, I have 0781 on that loop. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like this, you have a clear hierarchical distribution of the IP addresses. Because of that, when Chennai needs to update its prefixes, like its host numbers, it simply says that all 44, anything related to 44, send it to me. Same way, when India is advertising their telephone numbers to the entire world, they will say that 91 starts with, the rest of the numbers can be anything, send it to me. So the Indian gateway will be receiving the call. If somebody is dialing 0091, and then it will look into the second 2 digits to identify which of the location it is meant for. If it is going to be Chennai, it will come to Chennai loop. Then by seeing the remaining 4 digits, we will be able to identify to which of the exchange the circuit needs to be connected to. Then it comes to Velachery, and then it comes to my end phone. You understand what I'm saying? So this is how the separations are going on. புரியுதா என்ன சொல்ல வரேன்ட்டு புரியுதா? So this is how the communication will be happening. So we know that there is something called as what? /64 bit of address scheme. So /64 bit means that first 64 bits belongs to the network ID, right? And then the remaining 64 bits belongs to host ID. This is the separation, but there is a differentiation, right? The /64, we are not calling it as a network ID, we call it as a prefix ID. The name got changed. Same way network ID has been renamed as prefix ID, the host ID renamed as what? Interface ID. The names are different, but the logics are the same. So in IPv4 we call it as a host ID, whereas in IPv6 we call it as an interface ID. In IPv4 we call something as a network ID, here we are calling it as a prefix ID. Is that clear? Is that clear? Interface ID, not conversion. பேர் தான் வேற. Host ID is known as interface ID in IPv6. Right? Now there becomes one point here. What is that? IPv6, we have 128 bits in length, right? Expressed in binary, converted into 16 hextets, and every hextet is being 8 hextets, not 16 hextets. Every hextet will have 16 bits, and we have totally 8 hextets. Now 8 hextets, that means what? In every hextet you will be having possible 4 hexadecimal values, because it comes to what? 16 bits are there, right? So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, like the 16 bits are there. Every hexadecimal value will represent only 4 bits, right? So 2 to the power of 4, you get 16 values. So we have 16 possible identifications through the help of hexadecimal. Put together we have 16 bits in every hextet, so we can see 4 possible hexadecimal values, and those hexadecimal values can be starting from 0 ending with F. It can be with anything. Now what I mean to say, let's say that, let's take 116 bit and then we'll try to understand that. 1 2 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 15 10 16. Let's say like this. Okay, we have 16, I think. Okay, 16 bits are there. Now if I have 16 bits here, let's say the values can be 0 0 1 1 1 1 1 0 0 0 0 1 1 1 0 1. That's how this is going to be. Now I have to convert this into a hexadecimal value. How do I convert it? First of all, you have to slice the 16 bits into 4 equivalent components, right? So 4 bits, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, then 1 2 3 4, then remaining is also 1 2 3 4. Now 4 values. Now what would be the value, equivalent value here? So if I take 4 bits, what would be the first bits placement value? Can you please tell me what is that? 1 2 4 8. If you add them, 8 plus 4 12 plus 2 14 plus 1 15. So 0 to 15, 16 possible values could be possible. Now if I add this one, 2 plus 1 3. The first 4 bits hexadecimal value is 3. The second 4 bits hexadecimal value will be 8 4 12 plus 2 14. What is the equivalent 14 value? Is E. Here 1, and then 12 plus 1 13. This is going to be D. So 3E1D is the possible hexadecimal value for the given binary value. You guys are comfortable with the hexadecimal conversions? Probably in your engineering you would have gone through it. பண்ணிருக்கீங்களா hexadecimal conversions எல்லாம்? Okay, right. Now the point is, so put together we will be having 4 hexadecimal values per hextet. We have 8 hextets, 8 into 4, 32 hexadecimal values are going to be there. Again, it will be very difficult to remember them. You understand? 32 hexadecimal values are going to be there. How do you remember? Is there a way to simplify the IPv6 addresses? Yes, there are. How the simplification is happening? The first rule number is what? Rule number 1. any leading zeros can be removed. It is understood. What I mean to say, if I say that, okay, let me call this as 2101 colon 1000 colon 1010 colon 1000 colon 0010 colon, like how many we have? 1 2 3 4 5 0001 colon 1000. This is an IPv6 address. Okay, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. We also need to have one more 0000. Let's say like this. This is an example. Okay, this is an example of IPv6 address. How this address can be simplified? I'm just getting into it. Now, what the first rule says that any leading zeros can be removed. So, in first hextet, I have no leading zeros. I'm just taking the same thing, right? 2101. When it comes to second hextet, I have 3 leading zeros. That means it ends with 0. I can simply put 1. It is understood that the next 3 zeros are there, but I'm just eliminating it. Now, here 101, I can remove that leading 0, then 1. Then 001, then the next choice I don't have is 0001, then 1. Now what will happen for the last hexet? All zeros are there. Can I remove everything? You have to put it 10. It is understood that rest of them all are also 0. When I have all zeros in one single hextet, you can replace them with a single 0. This is a simplification process. You understand what I'm saying? This is a simplification process. Now, there is also one more explanation is given. What is that? If you have consecutive zeros in multiple hextets, they can be replaced with a double colon. What I mean to say, the same thing I'm taking it 2101, 0000, 0000, 0000, then 1000. Let's say like this 0000. How many happens? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's say like this. Now, how this address can be simplified? First rule is going to be applied now. 2101. Instead of all zeros in the second hextet, I'm keeping 10. Same way, the third hextet I'm keeping 10. In fourth hextet I'm keeping 10. On fifth hextet it is simply 1. Sixth is 0. Seventh is 0. Eighth is also 0. This is one way of simplifying it. The second rule says what? If you have consecutive zeros in multiple hextets, right? If you have consecutive zeros spanning across multiple hextets, they can be replaced with a double colon. What do you mean by this? Instead of keeping 0 colon 0 colon 0, they can be simply replaced like what? 2101 colon 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 1, which means what? Here we have all zeros. That's what the understanding. புரியுதா என்ன சொல்றேன்ட்டு? Do you understand, guys? Okay, now there is a question, can I put double colon here also? This is not allowed because we know that we have 8 hextets. Out of 8 hextets, we have only 2 hextet value. Remaining 6 hextet values are going to be all zeros. How do we know that 3 hextets are here and 3 hextets are here? It can be misinterpreted like what? 2 hextets here and then 4 hextets here. That misinterpretation could be possible. That is the reason this double colon is allowed only once. Only once. Do you understand? In an IPv6 address, you can use only once the double colon. So, this is going to be a valid transformation as 2101 colon colon 1 colon 0 colon 0 colon 0 or 2101 colon 0 colon 0 colon 0 colon 1 colon colon. You can write like this also. Either you write like this or you can also write it. That means what? You can use this double colon only once in your IPv6 address, not multiple times. Does that make sense? புரியுதா என்ன சொல்றேன்னு சொல்லிட்டு இதுல? Okay, so that is what we need to have the understanding of your simplification of your IPv6 address. Same way, we also have different types of IPv6 addresses, like how we have the communication. Based on the communication type in IPv4, we categorize them as a unicast. I don't know why. Okay. Let's say that in IPv4, what are all the types of communications we can have? We can have a unicast, we can have multicast, and we can also have a broadcast. What is the meaning of this? Unicast is one to one, whereas multicast one to many, whereas broadcast one to all. Correct? This is what the understanding we have as of now. Am I right? In IPv6, do we have unicast? Yes. Do we have multicast? Yes. Do we have broadcast? No. Instead, we have a new type of communication which is called as anycast. Right? In IPv6, we have something called as what? Anycast. What is that? Unicast remains the same, meaning remains the same. Multicast, meaning remains the same. Whereas anycast, the meaning is different. What is that? See, I have an endpoint here. I have a router, multiple routers. Let's assume like this. Now, I'm trying to reach a host over here. There is also a couple of hosts here. Now, from this point, the traffic comes here, right? Now, if the best path is this, then automatically what will happen? The traffic will go here and comes here and then it will go here, right? So, my point is, from my perspective, who is the nearest one to reach my destination? Instead of saying that one to one or one to many, I'm saying that one to the nearest. For example, you guys are sitting in a place, right? So let's assume this is where you guys are sitting, in your home or in your office. It doesn't matter for me. My point is, you have a mobile phone, you may be getting the signal from multiple towers, correct? So there is one tower here, and there is one tower here, and there is also one more tower here. All of them are going to be considered as an Airtel or Jio, whatever the service you have it. Now my point is, from here to which of the tower you will be connecting to? Here, here, or this one? To which tower you will be connecting to? See, basically your mobile phone will be connecting to the nearest. So this is also Airtel, this is also Airtel, this is also Airtel, or if you like Jio, this is also Jio, this is also Jio, this is also Jio. It's up to you, whatever the service provider. If I don't have multiple towers, when the user is moving, obviously the signal is not going to be available for him. Now let's assume that this user sitting here, as he is moving away from this tower, his signal to this tower is going to be weakening and the signal from this tower is going to be strengthening. So as I move from here to here, I'll be seamlessly attaching to this particular tower and detaching myself from this particular tower. So what I'm trying to say that one to the nearest is an example of your anycast. So the example what I have given is a very good example for your understanding with respect to anycast. One to the nearest. I can have more than one router which has the anycast IP address. When I'm trying to reach the destination, according to the destination I'm trying to reach, where I am sitting in. If I'm sitting in here and this guy is nearby, then I'll go out this. When I'm sitting here, instead of all the way traveling here and going out, I can go here and then I go out. So both of them supposed to be having a similar identity. That is where the anycast comes into picture. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. Like in IPv4, we have something called as public IP addresses, and then we have private IP addresses, and we have loopback addresses, right? Like this, here also we have certain terminologies with respect to addressing. What is that? One is called as global unicast. Right. One is called as what? A global unicast. I'll tell you what is this. Global unicast, and then we have something called as what? A link local address. And we also have a unique local address, we have a loopback address, we also have unspecified address. That doesn't matter, if you read it, you will be able to understand it. But my point is, global unicast address is equivalent to a public address of your IPv4. That means what? A global unicast address is reachable, a routable address across the globe. That's why they named it as global unicast. It's a public IP address. Right? So every device which is going to be connecting to your public network supposed to be having a public IP address. In IPv6 terminology, it is called as global unicast address. Whereas link local address, the scope of the address is going to be local to the link. Let me say that I have multiple interfaces. Okay. So this interface, I need a link local address. This interface, I need a link local address. This interface, I need a link local address. Every interface connecting to an IPv6 network, we have something called as a link local address. The beauty of that link local address is one interface's link local address is not known to the other interface of the same device. So keep that in mind. For example, I have another router. How do we know that this is a link local address? Always it starts with FE80. If the address starts with FE80/10, that means the first 10 bits supposed to be matching like this. Only then it is called as a link local address. Say for example here I can assign FE80::2. Here FE80::1. I can assign it. That means on that link no two people can have the same link local address. Whereas the other side, there is a different link altogether, right? In this link, I can have FE80::1. If I want, I can. One point you need to remember, the link local addresses are not routable. I mean to say that I have a link local address using which I can reach my neighbor. Yes, you can. But the visibility of that link local address is very limited to the link where it has been configured, and it cannot be routed across multiple links. புரியுதா என்ன சொல்றேன்ட்டு? புரியுதா? Okay, right. That's what we need to understand with respect to the link local addresses. Loopback addresses, the meaning is going to be the same. Same way, how do we identify the how do we identify the loopback addresses? How do we identify the loopback addresses in IPv4? 127.0.0.0/8. That is the network we have it, right? Whereas here we have ::1 as a link local, the loopback addresses. Understand? In IPv4 we have a whole class A 127 network reserved for the loopback, but even then it is of no use. Why do we have reserved those many addresses? We don't have any idea. In IPv6 we have a single address reserved which is called as ::1. That is what a loopback address, right? And if you see simply double colon, that means it's an unspecified address. So basically when you don't have any address, the address for that device is going to be allocated as 0.0.0.0, right? And we normally call that as unknown addresses in IPv4. Here this is going to be 0:0:0:0:8 zeros will be there. So we also know that when you have consecutive zeros, they can be replaced with this double colon, right? So that's what is happening. Here what is this? Double colon, that means the previous octets. The last octet, not octet, it's a hextet. The last hextet we have only one value, the rest of them all 0. That is the meaning of it. Anyway, so this is your loopback address. : is going to be considered as your unspecified address. That's what we need to understand. Okay, there is also one more thing we need to understand. What is that? The link local addresses are mandatory, whereas the global unicast addresses are optional. What I mean to say, using the link local addresses, they can route the traffic, but if you want the reachability for those devices, only then you need to have the global unicast addresses. So link local addresses are mandatory, whereas the global unicast addresses, if required, you can configure it. If you want the device to be reachable for any sort of communication, then you have to take the help of global unicast address. Other than that, if you wanted to communicate only with the link local addresses, you could. But if I have, see, I have three routers, okay? R1 to R2 communication can happen using link local address. R2 to R3 the communication can happen through the link local address. R3 to R4 the communication can happen using the link local address. There is no problem at all. But R1 to R3 or R4, that means if you have multiple hops away, using the link local address communication cannot happen. From R1 I need to say R4's address is this, you have to communicate. That's where the global unicast addresses are required. So I have a global unicast address configured on the loopback interface. I also have a global unicast address configured on the R4's loopback interface or any interface. Using the global unicast address, the communication from one device can span across multiple hops to reach its destination. You're getting my point, right? Is that clear? Okay. Now there is also one more thing. So as I said earlier, by default, what is that we have? We have network ID or the prefix ID, and we also have the host ID. Or else, what is the combination here? What is the terminology in IPv6? We call it as what? Interface ID, right? Now my point here is, by default, 64 bits are there in the network ID and 64 bits are there in the host ID portion, right? It is quite possible that the host ID portion can be auto-generated. The host ID portion can be auto-generated. What I mean to say that the network ID we already know if it is going to be a link local address FE80, the 64 bits we can put here, all zeros here, and then the 64 bits of interface ID can be automatically generated based on a format called as EUI format. You understand what I'm saying? Extended Universal Identifier. That is what EUI stands for. So EUI is going to be derived from your MAC address of the device. So MAC address is going to be 48 bits in length, but whereas we need 64 bits, right? The 48 bits is being equally sliced, 24 bit and 24 bit. Remaining 64 bits are going to be inserted as a fixed value, which is FFFE. So in the middle, if you see FFFE, you can understand that it is a EUI format auto-generated link local address or the interface ID. That's what you need to understand. Now the 24 bits have been taken out. I mean the first 24 bits and the first 24 bits, and you have a second 24 bit. Now what happens here? The 16 bits of value is going to be inserted in the format of what? FFFE, right? You understand what I'm saying? Hello? See, MAC address you have 48 bits or not. That 48 bits is being equally sliced, 24 bits of one portion, the 24 bits of the second portion. We need 64 bits and we are taking 48 bits from your MAC address. So we need 64 bits, right? We have 48, we need 16 more bits, and that 16 more bit is going to be inserted in the middle of your MAC address. We classify, what is it called, that 24 bit, and in the middle we are inserting something called as FFFE as a 16 bit predefined value. So 48 plus 16, you are getting 64 bit, and that is what the interface ID. Then 7th bit is also going to be inverted. See, you have 24 bit, the first 24 bit, and the 7th bit is going to be inverted, and then you will be able to get the value of EUI generated interface ID format. புரியுதா என்ன சொல்றேன்ட்டு? Okay. End up. Okay. Let's say that the MAC address, we'll say FE80 is my prefix ID. Okay. So that is my prefix ID, FE80. Then interface ID is required. For that interface ID, I'm taking a MAC address as what? My MAC address is 0090. I'm taking some random number 2717FC0F. This is my MAC address, correct? Totally I supposed to have 48 bits. 48 bits is being sliced into 3, correct or not? Now this is how the MAC address is going to be looking like. So we have 48 bits. So 48 bits is being sliced by divided by 16. You will be having 3 hextets, correct? 3 hextets. Hextet number 1, hextet number 2, and hextet number 3. Now my point is, in every hextet you will be having maximum of 4 values. What I mean to say, first 24 bit is 0090. This is 16 bit colon 27. We have 24 bits here. Then remaining 24 bits are being kept on the last, FC0F. Now in the middle we need to have FFFE. So FFFE. This is the value. Now the 7th bit of it, what will be the 7th bit? It is going to be, 7th bit will be 00000000. So 7th bit is 0. This has to be converted into 1. If you convert this 1 into 1, then you will get 029027 FF colon FE17 colon FC0F. This is the interface ID. The prefix ID is going to be added as what? FE80 colon colon. So this is your link local address, and this interface ID has been generated in the format of EUI64 format. Is that clear? Is that clear? Okay, okay. So one more thing is what, if you see your IPv6 addresses, the headers are not going to be a fixed length. You can add additional header as you want. That means, and also what I mean to say that if any functionalities needs to be added, the respective header can be added. It's not that we always have a fixed length of header value, right? So it purely depends on what are all the features that we are going to be using it. Based on that, if you need additional headers, you will be able to add it. So as you use the feature, the additional headers are going to be added, and the size of your header is also going to be increasing. One more beauty with your IPv6 is what? IPsec is embedded naturally. That means what? It's an inbuilt feature. You don't need to have an add-on thing. What I mean to say, in IPv4, the 20 octets is going to be your header. The content is going to be what? A variable in size. Whereas in IPv6 we have 40 octets of fixed length values, like what? You have version, traffic class, flow label, length of the packet, next header, hop count, source address, destination address. All of them are going to be there. The content is going to be variable length. But what I mean to say, if you need additional header, which we call it as an extensional header or extension header, if you want to add a new header, you can add it. It's not a problem at all. The length of the payload is going to be set. Those are all going to be identical to your IPv4. But the advantage, or I can say that the uniqueness with IPv6 is the headers are customizable. As you have some features, you wanted to embed something, that the header is going to be added as part of it. You're getting my point? Is that clear? Okay. So one more beauty with respect to your what is it called in IPv6 is, they themselves can understand who is their neighbors, who are all their neighbors. How come? There is a process called as neighbor discovery. There are 4 different types of messages. One is called as, give me a minute, I'm just writing them. Okay, the neighbor discovery process. Okay, the neighbor discovery process is going to be done to the help of neighbor solicitation, neighbor advertisement. Same way, router solicitation, router advertisement. You have 4 different messages. Neighbor solicitation is going to be like what? I'm asking, who is my neighbor? Do we have any neighbor here? That's where the neighbor solicitation comes into picture. Neighbor advertisement, whether it can be because of the solicitation or without any solicitation, I can send an advertisement. Solicitation is nothing but asking for it. இப்போ நான் சொல்கிறேன், சதீஷ் நீங்கள் இதை பண்ணுறீங்களா அப்படின்னா, I'm just probing you, right? I'm just asking you. Solicitation is asking for something, whereas advertisement, it could be because of the solicitation, or it can also be because of a simple periodical advertisement. So neighbor solicitation is looking for some neighbor. Neighbor advertisement is advertising about myself, whereas router solicitation looking for any routers. I'm just looking for any routers in the network. Whereas router advertisement, if I'm the router, I have the responsibility of advertising myself to the rest of the team. You understand what I'm saying? And they're all going to be using the ICMP for their communication. Does it make sense? Okay. Right. So that would be the end of your IPv6. A small lab needs to be performed. I will share the lab sheets for you. Command lines are going to be the same. Show IP route is the command for what? Show IP route is the command for what? Like if I have to view the IPv6 routing table, the command needs to be replaced with show IPv6 route. Show IP route will show you the IPv4 routing table, whereas show IPv6 route will be showing you IPv6 routing table. If I have to configure an IP address to an interface, how do I configure? IP address followed by the address and subnet mask. Whereas if I have to configure IPv6 address, what is that I have to do? Think and let me know. ஆமாம், இல்லை அங்கே /64 தான் போடுவீங்க, ஸ்லாஷ் ஃபார்மேட்டில் தான் போடுவீங்க. Right. My question is IPv4 address, how do you configure? Using a command IP address. Then how do you configure IPv6 address? That's all. IP address means you are configuring an IPv4 address. IPv6 address means you are configuring an IPv6 address. That's the meaning of it. IP route is for adding a static route for IPv4 addresses. Then what would be the command to add IPv6 route? IPv6 route, IP route, IPv6 route. Show IP interface brief. What you will get it. That's all. That's the differences. So configuration is not going to be complicated for you guys, but be sure that the concepts are clear for you. Okay,